Coming up in this Brightline construction update, this update looks at the ATC-14 cutover, activating the second main line between Winter Beach and Gifford, north of Vero Beach. The majority of this cutover was focused on transitioning the former Gifford Siding into the new second main line, along with the activation of about 2 miles of entirely new track. In terms of distance, this is one of the shortest cutovers, but also one of the most important, with the activation of 2 sets of crossovers. We'll start at the north end by CP Winter Beach. We're actually going to start just north of Winter Beach by a concrete plant. Since this was filmed, a new turnout was constructed and installed to serve this plant. While in a future cutover, this work was made possible by the cutover featured in this video, as it is now being served from a section of the new western main line that has been temporarily put into service coming from Winter Beach. And here is the CP Winter Beach crossover. Moving to the air, I'm going to start with a quick look from December 2022. At that time, the 2 number 24 turnouts had been installed in the existing main line, and a layer of bottom ballast was in the process of being spread out in advance of the other number 24 turnouts being constructed in place. At this point, ties had already been set around this curve to the concrete plant, which you can kind of see in the distance at the top of the screen. Building the remaining crossovers on an initial layer of ballast simplified their building by putting them roughly at the height of the already installed turnouts, making the final connections easier to complete and making the surfacing simpler later on. A number 10 turnout had been installed for the Winter Beach team track the week prior. The new western main line was skeletonized, which is having rail attached to the ties without ballast, to the south from here. Crews have been waiting for the team track turnout to be installed and crossing rebuilt before finishing its construction. Ballast would be able to be brought in once the crossover turnouts were complete, providing a connection to this track. The 69th Street crossing was in the process of being rebuilt at this time. Crews were wrapping up asphalt and finishing installing the new crossing protection. Now back to February, and here's the control point complete with all 4 turnouts, making up the left and right hand crossovers, installed and ready to be activated. They had been used in a temporary manner to bring in ballast for the western main line. All of the signals are installed, and the heads are ready to be turned to face the tracks and activated the following day. To the north, more ties were set and rail was beginning to be installed on them. Here's a better look at that concrete plant. We'll now start working south towards 65th Street. 69th Street was complete and open for traffic. The Winter Beach team track turnout is here. And here is 65th Street, where crews were actively working to activate the new crossing protection. Back in the air, and here's a look at the completed Western Main Line. A new defect detector is here. This small industry also received a new number 10 turnout and is now served from the Western Main Line. We'll now continue south to 53rd Street, where the north end of the former Gifford Siding was being removed. This is the North Canal Bridge. And here's the former Gifford turnout. The turnout had been removed earlier in the day, and work was ongoing to install a piece of panel track in its place. From the air, you can see the new panel in place on the Eastern Main Line. The new track for the Western Main Line had been built off to the side of the former turnout, and would be pulled into place and connected to the former siding track, which is now the Western Main Line. Since the turnout on the south end of the siding was being removed simultaneously, and therefore blocking the arrival of work train AFW1, ballast had been stockpiled here and was being placed using a high rail dump truck. It has a special spreader box attachment on the back to help evenly spread the ballast as it is being dumped on the tracks. After unloading, it then headed back to get another load. While this is a more time-consuming task compared to placing ballast with a work train, this was necessary to ensure the main line would be ready for the afternoon's regularly scheduled freight trains. While that was going on, an excavator began the process of shifting the new Western Main Line track into place. They also had to shift a portion of the end of the former siding track, where it had been angled to join into the turnout, to match the necessary 14-foot track spacing. Also just south of here, a new number 10 turnout had been installed for the asphalt plant here. You can see the old wooden turnout on the side awaiting scrapping. We'll finish headed south to the former south end of the siding at Bogard. As you can see here, the Vero Beach Airport is directly next to the tracks, meaning further aerial coverage was not possible. New intermediate signals are at 49th Street, and a welding crew is installing new insulated joints here for them. You may have noticed that at all the crossings, flaggers have been present. They are on site 24/7 for the duration of the cutover, while the new crossing protection is activated and tested for service. The Gifford team track is here. The base for this cutover was this collection of trailers at 41st Street. And here's the new CP Gifford crossover, located next to where US 1 comes alongside the right-of-way. Gifford was built into a portion of the former siding, about 3/4 of a mile from the south end of it. While the cutover technically ended here, the removal of the Bogard turnout was considered part of it. Surfacing equipment was staged just north of the 32nd Street Aviation Crossing. This crossing was being rebuilt as part of the cutover, as the track alignment changed through it with the removal of the turnout. And this is where the turnout was removed and panel installed. Here's Florida East Coast Railway work train AFW1, arriving through the 26th Street crossing to drop ballast at Bogard. It came to a stop here while the construction crew briefed the train crew with the unloading plan. And finally, here's a drive back north past AFW 1 and Bogard. The searchlight signals were removed here the following day. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Also check out my social media pages.